A measured 94-mile-per-hour wind gust already tore through Marshall County, Iowa before sunrise. Tornado Watch 340 just went up extreme for 29 counties across central Illinois. And the Storm Prediction Center widened the moderate risk overnight from 2 million people to 4.2 million. That is the kind of upgrade that does not happen unless the atmosphere is screaming, plain and simple. Significant tornado parameter values are running over 5 across central Illinois this afternoon. STP over 5 usually shows up once or twice a year, not in the middle of June, folks. Add today and tomorrow together, and roughly 131 million Americans sit in the severe weather zone. This is no joke, y'all. Springfield, Peoria, Decatur, Champaign, Bloomington, you're sitting in the bullseye. It is Wednesday, June 17th, and the storm everybody was bracing for yesterday is now ripping across the Midwest in real time. Starting with what is happening this morning, the front end of this outbreak already arrived in Iowa. An upscale growing MCS hammered central and eastern Iowa pre-dawn with 80-plus mile-per-hour gusts. Marshall County clocked a measured 94-mile-per-hour wind gust before 5 a.m. Central Time, which means widespread power outages, downed trees, and damaged grain bins across half the state already. That same MCS is now sliding southeast into central Illinois through this morning. And here's what most folks miss. That morning convection lays down what meteorologists call an outflow-augmented warm front. Translation, it sets up the boundary that the afternoon supercells will explode along between 3 and 7 p.m. Tornado Watch 340 runs through 3 p.m. Central Time across the heart of central Illinois. 29 counties are under that watch, with Springfield sitting dead center of the polygon. Christian, DeWitt, Logan, Macon, Marshall, Mason, McLean, Menard, all 29 counties highlighted. Peoria, Sangamon, Stark, Tazewell, Champaign, same story, all under that watch through mid-afternoon. And a wind advisory runs alongside it for south winds of 20 to 30 with gusts to 50 miles per hour, which means even outside the supercells, the surface winds are running unusually high before the storms hit. Now here is something the morning forecasters quietly updated overnight that nobody outside the weather room caught. Yesterday afternoon, the moderate risk on the Day 2 outlook covered just 2 million people. Overnight, the Storm Prediction Center expanded that red zone to cover 4.2 million. That is more than double the high-risk population in less than 12 hours, mark my words. Which means the model guidance came in worse, the atmospheric soundings came in worse, and the math got nastier. And the 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. SPC updates today could bump this to a high risk before the storm's peak. High risk is level 5 out of 5, which is the rarest severe weather call the NWS ever issues, no two ways about it. Dale, my retired engineer friend over in Toledo, Ohio, your turn comes tonight after dark, not this afternoon. The line of storms reaches the Ohio Valley between 9 p.m. and 2 a.m. Thursday morning your time, which means damaging straight-line winds become your main play, with isolated tornadoes still possible inside the line. Have a flashlight, a charged phone, and the weather radio cranked up before the sun goes down tonight. Now to break down why this afternoon turns violent so quickly across the heart of Illinois. A 70-knot southwesterly jet is roaring east-northeast at 500 millibars across the Midwest. Underneath it, low-level winds at 50 to 65 knots are pumping Gulf moisture into Iowa and Illinois, which means low-level wind shear hits levels that produce long-track tornadoes, no two ways about it. Surface dew points climb into the upper 60s and near 70 degrees by mid-afternoon today, and MLCAPE numbers run from 2,000 up to 3,500 joules per kilogram by 3 p.m. Central. Translation, the atmosphere has the fuel and the spin to drop EF3 or stronger tornadoes inside 3 hours. Here's the historical context most weather folks have not connected for you yet today. Last Thursday, June 11th, an EF3 tornado tore through Streator, Illinois, less than 60 miles from Peoria. In Marshall County, Iowa, where the 94-mile-per-hour gust just hit, has a long tornado history, which means this exact corridor has seen violent tornado outbreaks in 3 of the last 5 years in June. Mark my words, the same vulnerable strip is staring down a second violent event in 7 days flat. Now to walk you through the timing hour by hour so you know exactly when to take cover today. Through noon, the morning MCS slides east into western Indiana with damaging winds and some embedded hail. Between 1 and 3 p.m. storm coverage explodes across central Illinois as the warm sector opens up. By 4 p.m., discrete supercells fire up between Peoria, Springfield, and Lincoln, Illinois. That is the moment the tornado window slams open wide across central Illinois into northwest Indiana. Peak tornado threat runs from 4 p.m. all the way through 9 p.m. Central Time tonight. By 7 p.m., storms approach St. Louis and start riding east toward Indianapolis and Fort Wayne. After 10 p.m. tonight, the storms congeal into a line and damaging winds become the main headline. That line then sweeps into Louisville, Evansville, Cincinnati, and Huntington before sunrise Thursday. Now to hit the enhanced risk cities sitting one ring outside that moderate risk red zone. St. Louis takes the morning round between noon and 3 p.m. as the MCS rolls through. Indianapolis and Fort Wayne sit on the eastern edge. Your turn comes after dark tonight. No joke. And Kansas City catches scattered supercells on the backside of the system through late afternoon. Before I swing south to the Gulf Coast story, I need something from you down in the comments today. Tell me your county and your town in Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, Ohio, or Kentucky tonight. I read every single comment. And I will respond with the exact timing window for your zip code before the storms hit your block. That way nobody walks into the afternoon without knowing when the warning siren will rip. Here's the jaw-dropping math when you stack today's risk against tomorrow's outlook. Folks, today's moderate, enhanced, slight, and marginal zones cover roughly 71 million Americans coast to coast. Tomorrow's Day 2 slight risk covers 60.65 million more across the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Add marginal coverage on Thursday, and you push another 64 million Americans into the broader risk zone. Stack it all up, roughly 131 million inside the inner severe weather contours over 2 days. That is 2 out of every 5 Americans staring down some flavor of severe weather inside 48 hours. Now to swing south because potential Tropical Cyclone 1 shifted further west overnight, folks. Tropical storm watches now run for Texas all the way to the Texas-Louisiana border. Tropical storm warnings are up across coastal Louisiana through Wednesday evening. Sustained winds at 40 miles per hour with gusts to 52 miles per hour are forecast at landfall, which means Tropical Storm Arthur could get its name within the next 6 hours. Plain and simple. Here is something the cable channels are missing about this system that you need to understand. Western dry air shear is compressing all the bad weather to the east side of the storm circulation, which means the rain, the wind, and the tornado threat all sit on the eastern half of the system. That is why coastal Louisiana takes the brunt today instead of the actual landfall point in Texas. Margaret, the retired school teacher down in Lake Charles, you're sitting inside the warning zone today. 60 to 70 mile per hour gusts inside the rain bands today across southwest Louisiana, which means take down anything loose in the yard before lunch and stay off the roads after dark tonight. And keep the family photos on the top shelf. Flash flood emergencies can spool up in under 30 minutes. Houston, Galveston, Beaumont, 3 to 5 inches of rain per hour through this afternoon and evening. Storm totals across southwest Louisiana could push 12 inches before this system pulls northeast. By tomorrow, the remnant low slides east into central Alabama and the panhandle of Florida, which means Mobile, Pensacola, and Tallahassee take the next round of flooding rain Thursday afternoon. By Friday morning, the moisture plume reaches Atlanta, Charleston, and southern Georgia in full force. Atlanta and Charlotte stay on the dry edge of the system through the weekend. But anywhere south of Interstate 20 takes another 2 to 4 inches of rain into Saturday morning. Now to swing west because the fire weather threat just expanded again overnight too. Folks, red flag warnings now cover eastern Wyoming, the Nebraska Panhandle, and western South Dakota, Cheyenne, Scottsbluff, Chadron, Valentine, Bone Dry Brush with critical fire weather all afternoon today. West winds at 20 to 30 miles per hour with gusts to 45 whip across the high plains, which means one chainsaw spark or one dragged trailer chain can spin a 1,000-acre fire by sundown. Earl, my retired rancher friend up near Hot Springs, South Dakota, your wind gusts could hit 50 tonight. That is the kind of wind that turns one campfire spark into a 1,000-acre fire inside an hour. No outdoor burning, no chainsaws, no dragging trailer chains across dry pavement until Thursday morning. Now flip forward to tomorrow because the SPC Day 2 outlook just expanded to last night. Slight risk for severe storms stretches from Kentucky all the way up to New York and Boston. 60.65 million Americans sit under that outlook contour through Friday morning. No two ways. Cities at risk: Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Baltimore, New York, Boston, Nashville, Memphis, Charlotte. Damaging wind gusts up to 65 miles per hour are the main hazard along the cold front Thursday. Quarter to $half sized hail is also possible across the Appalachian Corridor late afternoon. Now, most folks have missed this detail, but watch New England close Thursday afternoon and evening. Boston, Hartford, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, fast-moving storms with damaging wind gusts in line, which means brief spin-up tornadoes are still on the table even with limited instability up there. And the morning convection across Pennsylvania and New York could limit the surface heating into the afternoon. Frank, the retired farmer outside Springfield, Illinois, you're in the heart of the bull's eye this afternoon. Between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. your time, discrete supercells could drop violent tornadoes within 10 miles of your farm. Get to the basement the moment you hear the siren. No waiting to look outside through the kitchen window. Weather radio on, 2 flashlights ready, and the truck moved away from the big oak by the barn. And do not forget the dog crate pets panic when the pressure drops in front of a supercell. Now here's the kicker the long-range models dropped this morning that nobody outside meteorology is mentioning yet. The severe weather machine does not shut off after tonight, after tomorrow, or after Friday. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday all carry severe weather outbreak potential across the Central Plains and Midwest, which means Father's Day Sunday, June 21st lands inside another full severe weather event for Ohio Valley dads. Honest to goodness, this is 3 consecutive outbreak days stacked into the busiest Father's Day weekend in years. Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Columbus, Louisville start watching the Sunday afternoon forecast by Friday night. Before I close this out, I want to hear from folks outside the Central Plains tonight too, in the comments. Live in Tennessee, Kentucky, Boston, New York, or any mid-Atlantic state, tell me your city below. Because Thursday brings you the second wave of damaging winds and isolated tornadoes most folks haven't tracked. And I want to make sure nobody on the East Coast gets blindsided on the back end of this thing. Back to the tropics for one more piece before we close out the storm summary tonight. If PTC-1 gets the name Arthur today, it would be the first named storm of the 2026 Atlantic hurricane season, and the remnant low could actually strengthen again as it gets back offshore over South Carolina by Friday, which means Charleston and Columbia could see another round of tropical rain and gusty winds Friday into Saturday. Saharan dust starts pushing into the Caribbean by next week, which should suppress tropical development. That gives the Gulf Coast and the Atlantic seaboard a breather through the first 10 days of July. Now to hear from folks across the plains and the Rockies while I have you here tonight. Oklahoma City, Wichita, Amarillo, how is the heat dome treating the outdoor crews this week? Cheyenne, Rapid City, Valentine, drop your wind speed observations in the comments below tonight, because I want to track this coast to coast and feed your reports into tomorrow morning's video. Here's one more piece that ties the whole continent together for tomorrow afternoon, folks. Amarillo, Texas hits 105 to 106 degrees today under the southern heat dome. Meanwhile, Minneapolis struggles to reach the low 60s under the trough rolling south from Canada. That 45-degree gradient across roughly 1,000 miles is exactly why the jet stream is roaring. Which means even after this front passes east, the pattern stays primed for another round Saturday afternoon. And by next week, the positive PNA pattern locks in Arctic air across the eastern half of the country. All right, bringing it all back to the verified facts that opened this video tonight. 94-mile-per-hour gusts measured pre-dawn in Marshall County, Iowa before 5 a.m. Central. Tornado Watch 340 Extreme running for 29 counties across central Illinois until 3 p.m. 4.2 million Americans inside the moderate risk red zone, more than double yesterday's coverage. Significant tornado parameter over 5, the kind of value we usually see once or twice a year. Stack the next 48 hours together, 131 million Americans across the severe weather zone. Add the Gulf Coast tropical impacts and the high plains fire weather, no two ways about it. You have got the continent on edge from Lake Charles to Lansing to Cheyenne all at the same time. For central Illinois and Indiana know exactly where you shelter before 3 p.m. hits this afternoon. Charge every device. Clear the patio. Park the cars under cover before the supercells fire up around 4 p.m. your local time. Down on the Gulf Coast, do not drive into water you cannot see the bottom of, full stop. Out on the high plains, no campfires, no chainsaws, no fireworks until Thursday morning at the earliest. Mid-Atlantic and Northeast tomorrow, keep your phone alerts on and watch the western sky after lunch. And for everyone planning Father's Day Sunday, start watching the weekend forecast Thursday night. No joke. Here's the bottom line. This is a once-in-a-decade June outbreak unfolding in front of us today. 3 consecutive severe weather events stretching from today through Father's Day Sunday. And the pattern locks in for the rest of the month with 2 Arctic blasts forecast into early July. 94-mile gust, watch 344.2 million in the bullseye. That is the headline tonight. Next briefing comes tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Eastern with damage reports and the freshest model data. Springfield, Peoria, Lake Charles, Boston, Cheyenne, keep the radio on and the basement door cracked. And do not say nobody warned you when the warning siren rips across your county this afternoon.